Hi guys, Costa here for OzGamers, and this week's Throwback we're looking at the Kirby games. Nintendo character who debuted on the Game Boy. The Game Boy being almost like a step back with its black and white capabilities was a huge hit which is hard to see now in the days of smartphones, but portable gaming was kind of seen as an impossibility when the Game Boy came out. Here was a system that pretty much could take cartridges and last, and it could even be thrown around a bit. Now, Kirby was created by HAL Laboratory, who created a bunch of games for NES, and at the time of Kirby's release, or just after the release of Kirby, Satoru Iwata, who became Nintendo president, who passed away recently, tragically. He was instrumental in this game's development. He wanted to create something that was simple, that anybody could play. And the designer of the game and creator of Kirby pretty much only meant for Kirby to be a placeholder. And it wasn't until Iwata, Miyamoto and other people got a look at Kirby and kind of knew that this was the character. Especially when Kirby just is a ball that sucks things in, becomes big and spits them out. And he can just jump around by just sucking air and then floating away. The sound effect for when he sucks in is like a vacuum cleaner. It's very cool. Basically sucking anything. Except that guy's getting away. Oh, the cow thing is back. We'll spit that out. Oh, you're getting stuck in those blocks. Now, Kirby was created as a game that could be apparently something that could be kind of finished in one sitting, and due to the capabilities of the Game Boy at the time, this is a game that doesn't actually have any save slots or anything like that. So pretty much you have your score and a batch of stages that you can play and replay that have secrets and a score based on sucking things up and spitting them out in creative ways. I've been sitting on like 1 health for like a while now. I'm surprised I haven't died. I doubt I'll survive this boss fight. Come on, Kirby, you can do it. Throw those apples. Kirby is about to do it. Come on, Kirbs. Whoa. There we go. And for some reason, at the end of each stage, other Kirbys appear and they dance. For reasons that are cute. And this is Kirby's Adventure for the NES, which starts with this really cool little animation that shows you how to draw Kirby. And you just paint him pink. And this game came out a year after Kirby's Dream Land on Game Boy, 1993. And for those that know their history, this is after the release of the Super Nintendo, so that this is a game for the Nintendo Entertainment System after the Super Nintendo had already been released. And this is the first game where Kirby actually appears pink in his natural colour. And the difference with this one is that Kirby now actually gets their powers if you decide to swallow enemies. And you can also spit them out if you want to go back to being just Kirby. The Kirby games were never like technical showpieces along the lines of Mario, which would always, you know, showcase a brand new console. So this is out after 93, which is after Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, if not around about the same time. Kirby's always been about simplicity, and yeah, introduction into this Kirby is that slide move. But it's the spitting out of and the swallowing of enemies. Which would become a staple in the further Kirby games. Here we have Kirby Superstar for the Super Nintendo. Big improvement graphics wise. And this is the Kirby game that kind of introduced, or kind of like spearheaded that Kirby being simple and fun, which kind of shaped Nintendo over the years, which is like providing like mini games and just more fun things to do. Spring Breeze, which is kind of like the Dreamland and Kirby Adventure, except a improved version, including I think similar stages, and the goal is pretty much in here to get a high score. So that's like a same enemy from the NES one, except now Kirby gets a cute hat when he takes on his form, which would become a staple of the Kirby games from this point on. All the 2D ones. Where in this one you can actually spit them out and they fight for you, which is a cool little addition. Visually, this is a big improvement over the NES and Game Boy ones. You got kind of like computer-generated backgrounds, bright colorful 16-bit characters. You can see like my CPU partner is about to kill the guy. Oh no! I took his weapon at least. Hey, we get become a little bomb thrower. We get a cool Kirby hat. So this being like a collection of minigames, this one here is pretty much based on score and only has I think a few handful of stages. But it pretty much follows the same Kirby setup. And this is the same as the Game Boy one, the same boss, but improved. This one, because we've got this bomb guy, his abilities, we can just spam this boss. And the tree kind of cries, which makes you feel a bit sorry for it. Until you see the three Kirbys dancing. over the corpse of their enemy. And finally, we've got Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, on the Nintendo 64, which pretty much is a traditional Kirby game, except it takes on the perspective of like a 2.5D platformer, which is what these kind of games were back in the day. It actually uses the D-pad on the N64 controller. But overall, it's pretty much just like the Kirby games so far, in that you can take on the form of the characters that you swallow. Except it's not as charming. I mean, it's still simple to play and fun, except it's just nowhere near as charming as the previous Kirbys, because Kirby doesn't really physically change all that much. I mean, the limit of his morphing is pretty much just puffing up a bit when he jumps. It introduces an interesting mechanic that you can combine and have multiple powers, so you can suck up different enemies and use multiple powers, but apart from that, it's pretty much just a standard Kirby game with slightly fancier 3D graphics that somehow don't look as good as the Super Nintendo version, Kirby Superstar, that we saw previously. And this came out in 2000, which is kind of like a few years into the life of the N64, and it's kind of like the long-awaited debut of Kirby 3D, which was hinted out for quite a years by HAL. So this came out, I think, at around about the same time, or before or after Smash Brothers, which really became a huge hit for HAL Laboratory. Not so much Kirby 64. And this story, which doesn't make any sense. Hey, it's this guy from all the other Kirby games. Alright, and that's that boss dead. And the goal of the game is to collect crystal shards for some reason. That really isn't made all that clear. Somehow missed grabbing one of those things, and Kirby's crying, he didn't get any food. So you have it, that's the Kirby games across the black and white 8-bit Game Boy, the color 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, the Super Nintendo 16-bit, and now the 64-bit Kirby. Obviously there was Kirby has appeared across pretty much every system at one point or another. But these are just 4 of the Kirby games that have stood out over the years. So that's it for this week's Throwback. I'll catch you guys next time.